Hello everyone and welcome back to the Belgian Beer Brothers channel. Cedric here in Antwerp with yet another brew review, and today we are going to look into a very small but world-renowned brewery. We are going to have a beer by the Struise Brouwers. Now Struise meaning strong, forceful, but also we have a Struisvogel, which is like an emu or an ostrich, and yeah, these guys are world renowned because they brew pretty cool but rather heavy beers. They are the brewers of the Black Damnation series, for example, and one we are gonna have today is the Pannepot, more specifically the Pannepot 2020 Vintage. This is a strong dark ale. Some people say it's somewhere between a dark ale and a stout. I have yet to discover that. But I want to zoom in on the namesake of this beer, because Pannepot, it does remind us of pans and pots. It has nothing to do with that, of course. If something seems logical, most of the time it's not. Pannepot refers to these ships, these barges that were used by fishermen in the early, let's say, 19th and 20th centuries. And the Panne is a city in the coastal region of Belgium. There's nothing more to it. That is also why they have this beautiful painting on the label. And I recall that it used to say Old Fisherman's Ale, or at least some of the iterations do say that. Now about the beer itself, we have a lot number here and a best before date. The best before date is October 2020 plus 5 years. So this should be all right until October of this year. However, I have had some vintages of this beer that were way past their due date, and they were fine, as happens often with these beers. Then, ingredients. Water, corn malt. Wait, let me find a language that I actually speak. Yeah, I thought that was a bit weird. No, the ingredients are not corn malt, but malted barley and wheat, with hops and yeast, of course. Unfiltered, unpasteurized, bottle conditioned, artisanal process, handmade. They have all the buzzwords here. But the funny thing is that with Struise Brouwers, they're not just buzzwords, they are also not just true, they really stand by that. Now unfortunately Struise Brouwers isn't doing too well, and they had to fire half of their workforce last month, and that seems harsh, but half of the workforce was 2 people, because originally there were 4, but nonetheless that is a horrible thing. And as breweries aren't doing very well in these times, I am very scared of what's still to come. So let's hope that they find the public and the power and the money to keep existing. 10% alcohol from 24 Play-Dohs, okay, so it will be a slightly sweet. 27 IBUs and 84 EBCs, so slightly bitter and very, very dark. That all being said, let's go right at it. I also have this nice teku glass that was gifted to me by a friend who visited the brewery on a day that I had to work. I was very, very jealous that I couldn't join, but he did think of me, so. Now of course, this being a rather old beer means that I have to pour from up high to get a nice head of foam. that is 84 EBC, no light passing through. Just at the very bottom here I have a thin line of reddish brown, but yeah, I would call this pitch black, absorbing all the light. And then the foam, I had to work to get to that foam, but I'm glad I did, because I see some nice, pretty fine beige, darkish beige foam, so pretty beautiful, and even though it's dark I can still see pearls, bubbles arriving to the top, so that tells me that this beer is a-okay, well conditioned. I get a surprising amount of carbon dioxide for a beer this age and this style, so that is promising. But I also get, first off, some very volatile aromas like raisins and figs, dried fruit, and right after that I get all the classics. A bit bready, a bit roasty, some coffee, some chocolate. Slightly woody. No, it is not wood aged, or at least I don't believe so. But nonetheless. So let's have a taste. Cheers! Oh, that is very special. Very lightly carbonated on the tongue, also very tiny bubbles. It's almost as if they used a champagne yeast or something. But I am starting to doubt my statement about not being wood aged. I think maybe some wood could have been involved in this process. Now I do know that they have a barrel room with over 300 wooden barrels, so I wouldn't be surprised if this spent a few months in one of those. And I actually don't know the entire backstory of the Pannepot. What I do know is that they introduced this series in 2003, and right off the bat, starting in 2004, it has been in the list of 100 best beers of the world constantly for 20 years straight. So that is quite the achievement. What I do get in this beer is a surprising amount of acidity. There's this sour undertone that I didn't expect. And in any other stout I would have thought this was oxidized. But here I don't think so. This is very vinous. So it has a lot of, a bit of, let's say, sherry or port, but also classic red wine tannins. Yeah. And why am I not surprised by that? Because I've had other Pannepot beers before, and those had the same, yeah, I had the same doubts with those. So this is a very interesting beer. If you think that you are a seasoned taster, get yourself a crate of different Pannepot beers and be humbled. As am I. Also quite boozy in the nose, but I don't get that 10% ABV in the flavor. It's not that boozy at all. It is surprisingly refreshing for a dark ale, stout-ish chimera sort of beer. And I'm trying to warm it up a bit to release more aromas. But yeah, this is quite odd. And that is what I mean by Struise Brouwers being original, being not afraid to experiment, being crazy as fuck. And now that it's been standing here for a while, it actually has a very fruity character. So we've gone from heavy to fruity to refreshing. I think this is one of the most complex beers I've ever had. And only now, let's say 1/3 in, I am getting to those chocolatey flavors. So now it's like I have a dried fruit chocolate mixture. And also slightly herbal. So this beer is weird. This is a complete trip through your entire flavor palette. It releases everything just on a different time. Yeah. Okay. I do like the after flavor in this one. Now, right off the bat, this would never be my daily beer. This is great for a once a month or a once in several weeks and months. So this is a real savoring beer, a real degustatie beer, a taster beer. But the after flavor is very interesting. It starts off quite herbal and then transforms into classic stout. And a lot of that fruitiness that is in the initial flavor, also a bit of citrus by the way, is completely not present in the aftertaste, which makes this again very interesting. Yeah, very nice. So about scoring this, I'm not sure. Now it is very, very interesting, and it is one of the world's 100 best beers each and every year. However, not so much my cup of tea. Would I recommend this? Yes, 10 out of 10. Try this, but I do not score beers on their appeal to try. I score beers on their overall drinkability, on flavor, aroma. So this is a fine example of creative brewing and understanding the process. But for me, this is not more, but absolutely no less either than a 3.5. This is a above average, definitely. But as with games, we score on replayability. On beers, we also score on redrinkability. And I'm not gonna run to a bar and ask them for this. Now, if you happen to be in the Antwerp region at any time and you want to try one of these, not a sponsor by the way, but I do happen to know that the Café Zigzag has some of these in stock. Not necessarily the 2020, but they do have several barrel-aged iterations and other Struise Brouwers beers. Haven't been there since November or December, I think. However, just ask the guy behind the bar and tell him Cedric from Antwerp Beer College said hi, and he'll tell you vigorously about his exclusive cellar. But leave some for me, okay? Okay, that all being said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to support this channel, share one of my videos. We also have a Patreon page, and it's a sort of pay what you will kind of thing. If you want to see more, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and you'll get notified whenever I upload something, which should be on a weekly basis. And yeah, any questions, remarks, down below in the comment section. Now, if you happen to like this particular video, hit that thumbs up, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers!